Hello everybody. Today we are going to be making a new bubble bar recipe. Now this one is not like the one that you roll. This is one that we are going to literally put it in a bath bomb mold, which is going to be really fun. We're going to use a tablet bath bomb mold. So let's get going. This is my fourth or fifth, I can't remember, revise of this recipe. I haven't released it yet because we are still practicing. This is my third video on it because I have done some, deleted them and so on when the recipe hasn't worked out. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this recipe. Let's start making something really lovely. Now, before we get into the recipe, behind the camera, I am actually putting on some gloves and I have already pre-organized all of these. So in our dry ingredients, we are going to use some bicarbonate of soda. We're going to use some SLSA, some kaolin clay, some cream of tartar and some cornstarch. That is going to be our main recipe in the dry. And in the wet ingredients, we're going to use cocoa betaine. We are also going to use polysorbate 80, some fragrance oil and some gorgeous vegetable glycerin. So let's get going, and I'm going to organize everything and you can watch and see how I do this, and fingers crossed that this recipe is good, because I've had to keep tweaking, and formulating is one of those things, can be a little bit of a headache but super exciting and rewarding when you get to the end and it works. All right, friends, we are ready. So we've got everything nice and clean and we are ready to make this. So in here, I just have a standard bowl, and then I have this little thing. This is so that we can sift all of the dry ingredients. If you don't sift it, it's just going to be a big headache. Now, I will show you one that I have already made, the last one that I made. So, now this is it, the last one. It's very crumbly, if you can see. So I've had to change the recipe. I didn't have enough hardener such as cream of tartar and things like that. So I've changed that, and you know, look, it's all just a bit of a go. The last recipe was only 100 grams. This one we're doing today is 500 grams. So it's just going to make 5 of these. And either way, even if it doesn't turn out perfect, I'm going to use them for myself. So like I said, we've got the sifter. So first of all, we are going to add in our bicarb. And I know this is a tiny sifter, but it doesn't matter because I just wanted to, you know, talk you through this recipe and why I've chosen these ingredients and so on. Now, this sort of recipe, like a bubble bar generally has a lot of glycerin, a lot of SLSA and things like that. But I was trying to cut down the cost, because if you make some of those, they are so expensive to make, like really expensive. And even if you decide, well, that you're going to box these up and sell these wholesale, there's no good if something costs you $6 to make and then you've got to charge, you know, $25, because no one's going to pay that, are they? So anyway, so that's why I thought, look, I have to reformulate this and play around with the recipe a little bit. And most bubble bars that are in a harder form, which this is going to be in a harder form, the recipes are actually really expensive to buy. You can pay up to $70 for a recipe on this. So it's a little bit crazy, isn't it? And I don't want to give out a recipe until I'm sure that it's going to work. So, but of course, I'll give it out to my Patreon members first. So, like I said, we've got the bicarb, and as I said, it is similar. In a way, it has a lot of ingredients that are similar to bath bombs. And that's because these ingredients all hold it together. So the bicarb is your main ingredient. It's the bulk of the ingredient, because bicarbonate of soda is just one of those things that's, you know, makes the bath kind of a bit silky, and it makes it just feel really lovely. So, and it will bulk up your product. Now, the next thing we're going to be using is SLSA. Now, a lot of recipes, even for the 500 grams, you'd be using up to 150 grams. I'm only going to use 60 grams in this recipe. And as I said, we're trying to be realistic about the cost of this as well. And you do need to sift this. SLSA has one of these, you know, it just clumps and looks, you know, you can see how clumpy that kind of looks if I get up nice and close. So we want to do that. And generally you're going to wear a mask when you're using SLSA, especially if you're making lots of batches. because it can be quite airborne, but this has sort of gone a bit clumpy. And now too, a lot of us have older homes, or our home may carry a lot more humidity than others. And things like SLSA bicarb, it can actually be really clumpy if you have an older home that does have a bit more humidity or in the air, which that's just a part of having an older home. Now, if you can kind of see how beautiful and fluffy this kind of looks now that we've sifted it, and before it was not good. Now, the SLSA is going to give the bubbles, the foam and all of that. So that's why we've got that in it, because it is a bubble bar. Now, I'm going to be adding in some cornstarch in this. Now, if you don't want to add cornstarch, you could just add bicarb in its place. Now, the reason we're doing this is it's going to slow down the action to give it a bit more time. And also cornstarch can make it feel a little bit silky in the bath, which is really nice. So now I do have my kaolin clay in here as well. Kaolin clay will also help harden up this. If I say bath bomb, I'm sorry, it is a bubble bar. It will help to harden it up. And in some countries, people can't actually get cream of tartar. So you can just use the cream of tartar portion for kaolin clay. Now, if you can't get cream of tartar, you're going to have to bulk up a lot more kaolin clay than what I'm using today. And last but not least, this is going to be the cream of tartar. This is going to help it be super hard. And in the past, I've done a few bubble bar recipes, more the ones that you roll. And I really learnt that from Brambleberry. And when I first did one of their recipes, it was a great bubble bar, but it really never went hard. And some of mine have not gone hard either, which is a bit of a headache actually. Look, this is just a part of playing with recipes. Anyone that gives you a recipe, you really want to, try it out. So now you can see it's all in here. It's looking beautiful. If you wanted with a bubble bar, you could add roses and things like that. If you want it to be more like a spa-like one, which we're going to do that at the end. And just kind of mix it all in. You've got your spatula. And just gently, because, and then in the middle, we're just going to we'll just pour it all into the middle, because we want to make a little bit of a well. We're going to put some wet ingredients. Now, I'm also going to add cocoa butter. Now, in this recipe, I only have this tiny little bit. It's 5% of the recipe. But I know you're going to say, well, look how small that is. That is going to help in a recipe of this size. So, with things like cocoa, you don't want to be going and adding 20% or anything. Number one, it's really expensive. And number two, you just don't need that in the recipe. So we're going to go and melt this down. So I'm just going to use one of these containers. I'm going to melt this down in my microwave. And then we're going to add all of the other wet ingredients as well. So let's pop this to the side and we'll organize the next lot of wet ingredients. All right, I am back, everybody. And now in here is my tiny bit of cocoa butter. It's melted down. So that one's looking all beautiful, isn't it? And also in these little containers, which I did talk about before, this is my polysorbate 80. So I am literally going to be tipping in my melted down cocoa butter in here. Like I said, I've used 5%. You could use more if you want. Just, like I said, double check your recipe. Just make sure it's good and you're happy. So now I'm going to put my glycerin in this one, which this container here is the cocoa betaine and the vegetable glycerin in here. And, look, sometimes when you make these, you may think, well, this is not the recipe I want. Maybe I need to go back and look at this again. And when I actually did hear Marie from Humblebee and Me talking about recipes and combining everything, it really did make a lot of sense to me, and how she was talking about coming out with, a bit of a formulation idea to start with and breaking it down, because it does make it a lot more easier if you can do that. Now, this is the fragrance oil. I'm just popping that into this same one, because then we are literally going to pour all of these together into our main container. So let's just pop all this in here, and we're going to get this all beautiful. And sometimes things like your cocoa butter is going to, harden up, but I don't need to worry, because I'm going to use my hands, which my hands will be warm, and that's going to break this up anyway. So inside here, we're going to make a little well. And now let's just pour in our wet ingredients to here. And we are going to mix it. Now, you don't want this to be sticky like you would see a lot of bubble bars are sticky. That's because that's the type of bar they are, because they need to be like that to be able to roll them. And I'm just going to get everything off that spatula. And then basically all we're going to do is like mix it up, hence the gloves as well. And, you know, if we feel like it's a bit wet, then we will know for next time, won't we? Now, you can also put some mica in if you want to add mica. I'm going to add a tiny bit just so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. Rub it in your hands like so. Just like you're making a bath bomb, you know, push it through your hands. Now let's add a tiny bit. I don't want heaps because I don't want it too pink. You could use kaolin clay or rose clay as well if you just want it a slight kind of pinky color. And can you see this? Like if I squeeze that in my hand, can you see how that is going to come into a beautiful hardened kind of bar? Now, usually in this, I would actually put this in an electric mixer, but I wanted to show everyone that you don't need fancy equipment to do this. You could literally just do this like I'm doing here. If you're going to sell this wholesale, obviously you wouldn't do it this way. And now if you can see it can you see it looks a little lumpy? That's fine to look a little lumpy because that's what's going to happen when we have cocoa butter and glycerin and things like that. Now, when I first started this, I made a really big mistake of adding citric acid because I thought, oh, I'll make it fizz as well. And I'd forgotten all about the whole fact of glycerin, you know, as a water base. And basically what happened is it activated it and made it just go to smush. So you can't put citric acid in. And that's why when you make a bath bomb, you don't put heaps of water or anything. You only put a tiny bit. And we're adding more glycerin to make this, you know, skin loving and so on. Because even though it's got bubbles, we still want it to be lovely. You could even put some jojoba oil in this and things like that. But I'm trying to keep it a little bit more simple. Now let's move this to the side. So here I have my scale. I like to put everything on a scale. And what we want to do is we want to measure all of this. So let's just turn it on. Now you can use a tiny bit of plastic. This is just Glad wrap. And I've just cut this tiny piece to sit on top. And then I'm just going to push that over. So now what I want to do from here is I actually want to go and make sure that I measure it because I measure everything that I make. So we want this to be about 100 grams. So we're going to just pop this in here. You can push it down as you go. And then we are going to hope that it's going to turn out amazing. And even when I say 100, I usually put more, like put a couple more because that says exactly 100 and we want it to be at least a couple over because you may lose a couple. So we're just literally going to put the lid on. Now, if you want, you could actually add some roses and I have some in my little container here. So I'm just going to sprinkle a couple on the top and this is going to give a really nice kind of beautiful sort of vibe, doesn't it? It's going to have like a spa-like vibe. Another piece of plastic just to pop on the top if you want. Just so that it's not going to stick because it may stick a tiny bit. I'm going to move that out the way. Usually I would have everything set up differently, but I'm just showing everyone. Now this is my hand press. This piece here sometimes comes off and all you do is open this up and I'll turn this around to show you. It has like a little slot here. And I bought this from Bath Bomb World a number of years ago, quite a few years ago now. And had it shipped in from America because I'm in Australia. But if you're in the US, there's lots of people that do these hand presses now. And if you're in Australia, just have a look online. There's probably even ones on Amazon now. I don't know, but... and this comes from the company called Express. So here we are. You can see it. And now the same as a bath bomb, we're just going to hold it and press it. It's going to be a little bit harder because of course it's got to push through our plastic and you know usually I would have the little thing that sits under it to push it up. So let's just... Now, can you see this? It does have the plastic under it, and I can see it's already moved, and that just helps it come off much more easy. And let's just spin it round, and this is what it's looking like. Doesn't it look beautiful? I love it. So we're going to pop this on the tray, and obviously I can hold it in my hand, it's fine. And I'm going to do the next few, and the test is to wait. You need to wait 24 hours to see how these are going to dry. If you pick it up and it's powdery like the first one I did, then we know it's wrong. We know we've got to fix it. Now, we know this is holding together well, so that's a good thing. If it holds together well, that's good. But of course, the end result is we want this to be hard. So I'm going to get a tray and we'll put them on there. All right, so let's just pop this one down. You can see that's what it looks like. And this one here I'm using, this is called a tablet mold. I actually got this from a company called Lee Molds in Australia. So if you're wanting one of those, that's where I got it from. Let's push this back. Now, it is tough to get out, and the reason it is tough is because of the plastic. So we'll do one without the plastic and see if it sticks or not. But that's sort of, you know, just a good thing to help you, because the mold is fine. Like you can see without the plastic, it quite easily goes through. And this is a 3-piece mold. It's roughly about, I can't remember, I'm going to say $27 maybe, something like that. And you can put the roses in anyway, so we can put them at the bottom or you can put them at the top. It really doesn't matter. This mold doesn't have a top or bottom, they're both the same. Let's measure this up. As I said, we want this to be 100. And you know, if you want it pinker, you could put more pink, but like I said, I really didn't want it too pink because I wanted this to be a bit of a spa-like one. And it's not rose, this is like a very sweet kind of cranberry kind of scent. So once again, take that away. You don't have to, I mean, I could push it on that too. And we're going to squeeze it with this. Now, if you have an electric one that you use for your bath bombs, it's probably going to compact this really well. I would love to have one. I just can't afford one of those. They're very expensive, aren't they? So once again, we're going to push this up. Now, this is one that I actually got from Bath Bomb World, and it is a little sticky from my last thing I was making, which is okay. So now we're just going to, like I said, you can push this through. Let's just push this through, and we will take this off and see if it sticks. That side probably didn't because it had the roses, so we will just see. Oh, there you go. It's looking beautiful. I'm glad that didn't stick. So then we know this recipe is pretty good because we just don't want it to stick. I'll put that on the tray, and let's get making the next one. We will clean the scale once we've finished. And this scale's nothing fancy. I actually got this from Kmart. You know, as I say all the time, my old friend Kmart, you know. I do get lots of things from there, only because it's cheap, to be honest. But things like scales and things, I mean, you don't need to spend a fortune. I have a commercial one, which is much bigger, and I got that from Amazon. It was maybe, I don't know, $60 or something. It was pretty cheap. So you don't need to spend hundreds, unless you want something that's going to go right down to the last little gram or something. So once again, we're going to put this lid on, and we're going to make these. So I hope this is going to turn out. And what I'm going to do as well, let me push this first, because you really want to put a bit of force to make sure it's compacted really well. As I said, you know, like once we've done all of these, we're going to leave it for 24 hours. I am also going to bring you back because, and now I've really got to give it a bit of force to push it through. But that's okay. It's looking beautiful still. And then very gently we will take it off. If you feel like it's getting stuck, you can also tap it as well with the scissors. And I can feel this is definitely more stuck than the first. Now, can you see this? See how it came off? Can you see how that sort of came off? That's what I was saying a bit with the plastic. and see how it, did you see how that broke? That's what I was saying before, like sometimes it may stick because of the glycerin. If it does, just break it back up again, and you know, you might have to give this a few mixes in between. As I said, you know, this is a bit of a test, isn't it? And I did one video and I thought, wow, this video is really good, and of course you know, then it was no good. So because the recipe didn't work, so I thought, well, I can't give you that recipe, it doesn't work. And that's the thing, you know, everyone, if you're paying for somebody else for recipes, do remember it takes people like me a long time and a lot of ingredients and, you know, so on to do these kind of things. So that's why a lot of people do charge for them. So don't get cranky if somebody's charging for something. Just sort of try and be fair and remember they probably spent a lot of time making it. You know, and if you feel that you don't have the skill to formulate, well, then that's a great option, isn't it? To just to be able to pay somebody else. Now, in between making it, you may have to just like scrape the inside. So I'm just scraping this so that, you know, it's because it sort of was getting stuck around the edge. And you can see that's going through fine now. The same as this, we'll just scrape the edge. And I'll show you what you can actually do to tap it down as well. All right, so let's start again, my friends. We just put a couple little roses because we've got a few in it now. So realistically, I think I could probably add a little less glycerin. And I don't have heaps in it anyway, but maybe that's something I could do. So, like I said, we're going to take this and press it again. All right, so what you can also do is give it a bit of a tap on the bench, push it through, and you can see that's coming through quite easy now that I've fixed it. So now, because it might get stuck, you can give it a tap around the edge as well, and just give it a tap on the top, and you can hear when it's not sticking as well, and that's much better, isn't it? And you can kind of like squeeze the side as well and turn it. Once again, it is sticking, which is not very good, is it? Anyway, we will keep going. But now I'm making a mess, aren't I? But let's just tap the bench. And can you see how it's like sticky here? If it's sticky here, it means it's going to stick. So, and the humidity is a little higher today in here. It really is. So, and I'm just going to give this a bit of a mix up because it is getting a little clumpy. One thing I've noticed with doing things like this is you have to be fast. You really do. All right, so push this through. Fingers crossed it's going to work. So we can see, I think we actually need a tiny little bit less liquids, as I said earlier. All right, so as I said, we're going to tap it. Tapping it is going to help it release a bit more, so that, because we don't want it to be stuck. So, of course, that worked well. And there you go. That's better, isn't it? So that's what I mean. If it's not coming out, just give it a tap. And we are going to do one or two more. There should be enough in here. Now, I can see when I'm doing this that it is getting stuck. So like I said, just get a knife or scissors and just scrape the inside, which you can see it's just got a layer of the product in here. So you may have to do that a couple times, which is no big deal. All right, this can be the last one, then I might do one that's a bit smaller since I've wasted lots of the material. All right, so lights in here. I'm going to give it a little tap, but I will give it a tap when we take it out as well. And this, you know, you can see how much effort this is. This is why I'm saying you can't be selling something like this for $5. You know, you want to make a bit of money on something like this with the effort you've gone to, especially if you're formulating something yourself and it's your baby that you're formulating. Now I can feel that sticking, so give it a bit more of a tap. As I said, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, because then we're going to know. And then you can see it's come off well, and the bottom is not coming off yet. You can kind of hear it as well, like, because I can kind of hear where it's a little hollow, and then hopefully it's not sticking. We can get it off. So there you go, all done. All right, so we have finished, my friends. So don't they look lovely? So I'm going to just put them in the drier part of my house. I'm going to leave these, and we're going to come back tomorrow afternoon to see how they're going. I'm going to just do this small one because I just have a little bit left, and I want to actually just see how this one's going to go. And I should have had enough for a 5th one, but I've spilt lots of it on the bench. So, but this one will still be fine. It'll be like, says like 80 grams or something like that. So, and you know, look, if you ever have something like this, it's 80 grams or something like that, and you think, wow, maybe I can, you know, make an extra one with it. You could literally just get all the stuff here on the bench, because we'd already sanitized this. And we could literally put it in this one, but this is going to be my tester one anyway, so it is not that vitally important. So like I said, let's just do the last one. And this is, like I said, once again, this is going to sit here overnight. Now if you don't compress it hard enough, it's going to be almost impossible to get it out, I'm going to be honest. And you'll see, like I said, it does stick, which I've said that a few times. I'm sorry if I'm annoying saying that. But I just want to be honest and tell you how it's going to work. But this is another way that you could do this. I mean, I think maybe next time, like I said, maybe a little bit less glycerin, or maybe even the same kind of glycerin, but maybe we could just up the percentage of bicarb instead. So that's something we could do. All right, so it's come off the top there, and can you see how it's not come off there? And that generally means it's going to stick. Now what you can do is get your hands and pinch the little mold as well. I do that with bath bombs, but I can tell this one is going to stick, which it did a little bit, if you can see that. But it doesn't matter, because this is our tester. So, and it's kind of good because I can tell that it's not perfect, and that will be great for a tester, and we just want to see if it's going to get hard. So I'll put this on the sheet on the tray. I'm going to wash all these up, and tomorrow I promise to bring you back, and we're going to see how this is all going to go. All right, everyone, I am washing the dishes. You can already see lots and lots of bubbles just from washing them in the sink. So, we know it's going to be bubbly, which is super fun, isn't it? And then, of course, we're going to see what's going to happen tomorrow when we take all of this out. So let's wait for the morning. Hello everyone, it is the next day and these are looking beautiful. Let's show you nice and close if you can kind of see that. Now they are definitely looking good, and I'm really happy with them. And if you can hear that, you know, we've tapped them and nothing's come off. The only thing I have noticed, now this is my one that's my practice one, if you can kind of see, it is a little flowery, if you can kind of see that. So the only thing I think I would do is add more cream cream of tartar in this. I think it definitely needs a lot more cream of tartar, otherwise it's not going to be that really hard consistency. So that's the only thing with this. And I think, you know, using things like kaolin clay, cream of tartar, you could even up the cocoa butter because that's going to help. You could even melt down some stearic acid and that would definitely help it harden up. So there's a few things like that that you could actually do. But I do think it's a win-win, this one. You could definitely use this one. But like I said, I would just up the kaolin clay or the cream of tartar. Cream of tartar in particular would definitely make it harder. And things like the glycerin is always going to make it soft. There's nothing you can do about that. You know, you could try and remove that, but the whole part of having the glycerin is just giving it a beautiful, beautiful finish. But anyway, we'll get nice and close and this is what they look like. So I'm sure that you agree it is a winner. You can pick them up with your hands, have no issue at all. So anyway, I will give this recipe out on Patreon. You can try it out, see what you think, everybody. And if anybody else wants the recipe, you can go over to Patreon to either buy the recipe in the shop. I do have a shop over on Patreon, or you can join at your $7.50 level or above, and you can actually purchase just you know, you can watch for a whole month, or like I said, purchase it just on its own. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed a little formulation that we've been doing the last 2 days, and now let's get making, friends. See you on the next video. Bye. All right, everyone, we are now at my laundry sink, and here it is. Now it is a little powdery, if you can kind of see that, but my hand is a little wet, but they definitely got really, really hard. I mean, you know, you can hear that's very, very hard. So anyway, this is what it's going to be like. So this is what you would do underneath. And look, it is definitely very, very bubbly. So, which is a bit fun. And you wouldn't need to use all of it. You could just even use a part of it. And then we've only used like half. And there is lots and lots and lots of bubbles. So anyway, it is a bit of a win, isn't it? If you use all of it, it's going to be nice and bubbly, of course. And you can see it can definitely crush in your hands. And the more you put in, the more bubbles you are going to get. So it's very, very bubbly and fun. It does feel silky and beautiful. The feel of it is really, really nice. So we will turn that off. But yeah, so the feel of it is really, really nice and the bubbles are really good. Another thing I'm thinking that we could add into this as well is Nature's Orb, because that will absorb a little bit of the glycerin. So that could be a really good one too. But I mean, this recipe would work 100%. I would just add a little bit more cream of tartar if you want it to be super rock hard. A lot of them on the market are not rock hard. They're firm but not hard. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you've seen that it is so not easy, is it, just to come up with these kind of things. But anyway, we've formulated, we've had fun, and I'll see you on the next video.